Hello, folks, and welcome to our October 14th, 2025 council meeting. I'd like to start with the land acknowledgement. Councillor Evoy.
Thank you. The lands we know today as the Township of Centre Wellington have been home to Indigenous peoples since time memorial. We acknowledge that we're on the treaty lands and the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee. With increasing encroachment by non-Indigenous settlers in the Township of Centre Wellington, the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee could not continue their traditional lifestyle and settled instead into their villages along the Credit River and the Grand River Valley. These Indigenous nations uphold their treaty rights within our jurisdiction. Today, the Township of Centre Wellington remains home to Indigenous peoples from across Turtle Island. We are grateful to have the opportunity to share and to respect Mother Earth, and we are committed to building constructive and cooperative relationships with Indigenous nations.
Thank you, Councillor Evoy. Item number 3, addendums and corrections to the agenda. Today, I'd like to pull item 10.2 and defer this for 2 weeks. Move down to item number 4, disclosure of pecuniary interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. Anyone to speak to that? Seeing none, thank you. Item 5, closed session. We'll be moving into a closed session. That the Council of Township of Centre Wellington convene in closed session in accordance with Section 2392D and E of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended, A, to consider a matter regarding labor relationships or labor relations or employee negotiations, and B, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Wilton, seconder on that. Councillor Craddock. Any further comments or questions as relate to that? All those in favor? So move. So we're going to move into close. It's 2:02. We're going to move into closed session till about 3 o'clock. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our October 14th council meeting. We've already been sort of at it for a little while now. So coming out of a closed session, I'm going to read the recommended resolution to be adopted in an open session that the Council of Township of Centre Wellington approve the Centre Wellington Fire Rescue 2025 Market Compensation Review. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Craddock on that, seconder on that. Councillor McDonald. All those in favor? That's so moved. Thank you. Now we'll move down to matters arising. Okay, we've done that presentation and announcement. At this time, item 8.1, I'd like to invite Mike Schreiner, MPP, Green Party of Ontario, and Bobbi Brady, MPP from Haldimand-Norfolk. We're very happy to have you here, folks. We feel like this is a big deal, and it's fantastic that you're at these chambers to talk about the things that you're going to talk about today. So, welcome.
Well, thank you, Your Worship and councillors. It's an honor to join you. And yeah, it's probably not very often two MPPs show up to Centre Wellington to present an open presentation. But Bobbi and I, our MPP Brady and I, have been making the rounds to various municipalities to talk about a bill that we're co-sponsoring, Bill 21, Protect Our Food Act, that would create a food belt to protect farmland in this province. So this all started with Hamilton City Council inviting us to join them, and they passed a resolution supporting the bill. And now we've had a number of councils reach out to us, especially in rural ridings where the agri-food economy is so critically important, to talk a bit about the bill. I think now more than ever, as we see threats, particularly from the South, to our sovereignty and our economy, that now more than ever, it's important for us to work across party lines and jurisdictional lines to protect farmland in Ontario. As many of you know here, the agri-food economy contributes $52 billion to Ontario's economy and employs over 875,000 people in this province. 1 in 9 jobs in the province of Ontario come from the agri-food sector. And obviously Wellington County, as many of you know, the agri-food sector is just critically important to our economy here, and being from Guelph for the region, and obviously in Haldimand-Norfolk, as you'll hear from MPP Brady. 49,600 farms across this province produce over 200 different crops. So Ontario actually produces more varieties of crops and livestock than almost anywhere else in the world. And all of that currently is at risk because we are losing 319 acres of farmland each and every day in the province of Ontario. To just put that into perspective, that's about the size of the city of Kingston on an annualized basis. It's also the equivalent of losing 1 in 9 family farms in the province every week, believe it or not. So I want to thank you for the opportunity to present today. In the past 35 years, Ontario has lost 2.8 million acres, or 18% of our farmland. And this is especially concerning because only 5% of Ontario's land mass is suitable for growing food, and less than 1%, 0.5%, is prime farmland. We see the threats to farmland from low-density urban sprawl, aggregate mining, highway construction, and other developments. We see it right here in Centre Wellington. I mean, I was just at Steve Lake's farm earlier this year, and just even seeing the challenges farmers face in moving equipment as we see additional urban encroachment on agricultural lands. And so that's exactly why MPP Brady and I teamed up together to put forward Bill 21, the Protect Our Food Act, which creates a task force that's led by farmers and agricultural organizations and land use planners to create a food land protection bill that would create a food belt in the province of Ontario to permanently protect farmland in this province. It will make recommendations of how we can preserve and enhance the quality of farmland, addressing things like reducing farmland speculation, improving soil health, and a plan to protect and enhance the agri-food industry. When I say soil health, many of you will know that Senator Black's bill on soil health complements our food bill perfectly. And Senator Black and the two of us have had a number of conversations about how our bills work together to protect the agri-food sector in this province. I want to thank the Ontario Federation of Agriculture, the Christian Farmers Federation of Ontario, and the National Farmers Union, all for endorsing this bill. And while they are the three major farm organizations in Ontario, it's not that often you see all three come to a news conference endorsing a private member's bill. But I think it just highlights the importance of this bill. We've had a number of the commodity organizations, from grain farmers to dairy farmers, cattle farmers, and others, reach out to us to express their support for this bill. It will come up before the legislature sometime next year. So the two of us decided to introduce it at this time, partly because of the threats the Trump administration is making towards our sovereignty and our economy, but also to give us a year to build the kind of public support I think we need. And it's heartening to see people from rural and urban communities reach out to us, understanding the importance that if we don't protect our farmland, we have no food, we have no future, and we have an economy that's severely threatened. So I want to hand it over to my co-sponsor, MPP Brady, to finish the delegation.
Thank you, Mike, and good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank Council for the opportunity to come before you with respect to Bill 21, a bill that we are very, very proud to be traveling this province and speaking to different farm organizations, farmers, and of course councils. To say that I am pleased to be collaborating with MPP Schreiner on this bill is an understatement. As a girl born and raised in Norfolk County, where we can grow just about anything and everything, preserving our most productive land is a passion of mine and a necessity for all of us. Since 2022, I represent Haldimand-Norfolk, which, as you all know, is a significant agricultural region, known not only for those diverse crops, but also for livestock farming. And like every agricultural region in this province, including this one, both Haldimand and Norfolk counties are home to numerous farm families who not only contribute significantly to the local economies, but also to the Canadian economy. Ontario agriculture, as Mike said already, and some of these numbers are the same, and they bear repeating though, contributes $50 billion to the province's economy and employs almost 1 million Ontarians. And if we don't protect our food-producing land, we will definitely send shockwaves across our economy with the loss of STEM, labor, technological jobs, and we will even damage our rural streetscapes like the ones right outside these doors here, which are beautiful. There's worse places to drive on a Tuesday afternoon, by the way. And as you just heard, Ontario, we are losing 319 plus acres of farmland each and every day, and we can't make more of it. Once it's gone, it's gone. And there's the tension between development and agriculture, but the time for a clear plan forward, whether we're looking at tariffs or not, is absolutely vital. And I think that Bill 21 is just the baseline. In my opinion, there are so many other steps that this government could be taking in Ontario to ensure long-term food security, increasing processing capacity in all of our sectors, and creating the economic environment for our young farmers to enter the field are two examples. Bill 21 highlights the exercise of identifying the best soils in our province, which helps to maximize agricultural productivity, ensure food security, as well as support sustainable land use practices. That's good for folks like us who are all policymakers, and all of you as well. It helps with better decisions on crop selection, conservation efforts, as well as land use management. And we've heard the argument, we all hear it, that there is enough land available. Canada, right now, immigration now accounts for the majority of population growth, which means agriculture has to rise to the challenge to meet local consumption as well as export commitments. Last August, I wrote a newspaper article entitled Development, We Must Look Beyond Tomorrow. And at the time, I had just finished a phone call with a farmer. She's an upstanding, longtime farmer who's not shy about telling me that speculators, her farm's on the outskirts of town, speculators often drive up the driveway, they have a brief conversation with her and then say, I'll email you an offer. And despite that farm being on the edge of town, and it can turn a fast buck. This farmer has something more precious in mind. And in the background, I can hear her grandkids. She won't sign off. However, there are farmers who are very tempted by those offers from the speculators. And they say to me, hey, Bobbi Ann, how do you begrudge the farmer that can take care of the next few generations of their family by signing a deal with a speculator or a developer? That shouldn't be the environment in this province. Instead of making it lucrative to sign off on development deals, we need to make farming respected, and we need to make farming lucrative once again. And as MPP Schreiner said, over the past 35 years, Ontario's lost 2.8 million acres, which is 18% of our farmland, to non-agricultural uses like the aggregate mining and urbanization. These numbers are interesting, given less than 5% of our land is actually suitable for farming. So we have to stop this degradation of farmland, and it's not just happening here in Ontario, it's happening everywhere in North America. And so that we can feed ourselves, we must cease the constant subtraction of arable land. And Bill 21 will help prevent further land degradation and protect our farmland and arable land for future generations. But it also respects farmers who want to create succession plans and who also want to reinvest in their farms. And I think that's an important piece of this legislation. The loss of 319 acres of farmland each day is equivalent to losing the 9 family farms, but it's also equivalent, it can produce more than 23.5 million apples. And I like my red wine, 1.2 million bottles of Ontario VQA wine, or 37.1 million strawberries. And we all know, we all saw the supply chain issues that we experienced during COVID. And I shudder to think that we would do anything further to harm our domestic supply chain and local food production. We can't afford to do this today, and we certainly can't saddle our future generations with this. So 97% of our farms in this province, they are family owned and they're operated, which means they are the core structure of the industry. They remain rooted in family ownership, and it's time that we treat them with respect, giving them the tools to succeed, and protecting their land the best way is the best way to ensure that they can continue. And as Mike said, without farms, there's no food, and there's definitely no future. So thank you very much for your consideration, and thanks for having us out today.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Would you be able to take maybe a question or two? Okay, I'll start with Lisa.
Through you, Mayor Waters, thank you so much. I haven't met you, Bobbi, at any of the conferences yet, but I look forward to seeing you. And thanks, Mike, as always. I love policy work, and I'll be honest with you, I did a lot of research on Bill 21 before I came here today. So it's received its first reading. So we're not taking any more public comments at the moment, correct?
Yeah, so the bill has received first reading. Second reading debate will be when my ballot date comes up. It was next March. I think that may be pushed forward to April or May now, so we're waiting to hear. So it will come up for second debate reading. Hopefully it'll pass second reading and go to committee. And so what we've been doing over the year, essentially we have from introducing the bill to it being debated at second reading, is we are collecting endorsements from municipal councils, farm organizations, food organizations, organizations that work on food security, food sovereignty, to build the public support that I think is there for this bill. And the hope is that we'll receive a unanimous vote in support of the bill at second reading.
I hope it will too. And I look forward to there being help for families, just as you mentioned, because quite often, you know, the second and third generation, they don't want the farm. We're dealing with it all the time. That's why the housing applications. And, you know, I would love to see more help for them. Maybe it's managing the business. Maybe it's mental health. You know, there has to be some outreach there, especially for mental health and farming. So thank you so much for coming.
I could just add one quick thing to that. There are special provisions in the bill to enhance things like on-farm processing, on-farm markets and things like that, because we recognize the importance of value-added opportunities for farmers and farm families to enhance the profitability and viability of their operations.
Barb?
Thank you, through you, sir. Thank you both so much. Thank you for orchestrating the convening of all those involved in helping to take this from an idea and a desire to support our farmers, their farms, and our farming community to this incredible Bill 21. I'm happy to endorse this in 100%, in part because it speaks to the 18% loss of our cherished farmland, and in part because I believe it's literally our obligation and what we do to support our farms today and tomorrow. So I will 100% be endorsing this. Thank you.
Bronwyn?
Thank you, Mayor Waters, and through you. That was an excellent segue, so thank you, Councillor Evoy. I do have a motion prepared, knowing this was coming today, to endorse the Bill 21 on behalf of Centre Wellington. So if I could read the motion now, and then is that proper procedure, Clerk?
That's the question.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can hang on then.
Did you have any more to add before you get to that? No. Okay. Any other comments or questions from council? I do have a few things. First of all, again, thank you for coming to, I'll call these hallowed halls, 25 years, by the way. Really appreciate you coming. I know how busy you folks are. As you know, this council has worked and staff have worked extremely hard at trying to define our urban boundary for the next 25 years. It has not been an easy job at all because we're balancing a lot of things. Dealing with the growth, we've been asked to more than double in size, and that's a really tough element. As people in the audience know, we're also dealing with a lot of tourism as well, and we're trying to protect the agricultural piece as well. Our ask has now been at the province for about 6 months now in terms of helping us define the urban boundary, and also on sort of on the edge there's the developers, in the sense that they have the ability to, even though the urban boundary may be defined, they may ask to come back into the urban boundary. So it's a lot of things that not just this community is dealing with, but other communities within the GTA, especially all those areas, the 29 communities and those adjacent communities are dealing with as it relates to growth. So I think I can speak quite honestly for this council. Part of the biggest thing is protecting the agricultural piece. The agricultural piece, in my mind, is as important as an EV plant. You know, it is by far our biggest business in this community in Wellington County, and we really need to sort of demonstrate to the province and the rest of the province and other communities that, yeah, we can try to help with the housing component, and I think we've provided an ability to do that in terms of intensification, growing up, and all that part of it. But we're also trying to protect the agricultural piece, because that's really important. And as you alluded to, in terms of the threat to the south, and I don't mean Guelph, I mean further south. We love you people, but further south. We know that the becoming more independent that way is really, really important. And this is really in challenging times for us. But I think Centre Wellington can be an example of how you can combine all those things and protect the agriculture, figure out how we grow this community. And it's tough, because we had a public meeting the other week. It was tough. The housing, tough. But we're all working, I hope, together to sort of provide an opportunity for where people can live, where people can grow and develop, and also be able to eat. And I think we have a real opportunity in this community to provide a really good example of how to do that. So on that, I appreciate you really coming out today and talking to us about what you're hoping to do. And here, I'm saying this, but we're 100% behind you, because the agricultural piece is a really important component, and really need to really understand that and drive that home, that, like I said, that's as important as an EV plant. So anyways, on that, yes, yeah.
Polycon, which is a Magna plant, is a major employer. So the auto sector is the major employer in Guelph. I 100% agree with you, though, that like those auto workers have to eat. And we also have to realize that the largest employer in the province is the agri-food sector, and the largest contributor to the provincial economy is the agri-food sector. So that is why the work you're doing here to protect farmland is so critically important.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor Waters. And I could actually talk about this topic for quite a while, but in recognition of our time, I think you've all said wonderful things, and I really appreciate both of you coming to present today. So I do have a motion for council to consider, and I'll read it now, and hopefully somebody will second it, and we can go on from there. So in Centre Wellington, on October 14th, whereas Ontario farmers produce a wide variety of nutritious and safe food for both domestic and export markets, whereas Ontario, and Centre Wellington in particular, is home to some of the highest quality agricultural lands and optimal agroclimatic conditions, and Ontario is currently losing approximately 319 acres of that farmland every day. Whereas we need to acknowledge that food security and food sovereignty are both critical from a national security perspective, and noting that food security is the ability of individuals to receive adequate nourishment, while food sovereignty refers to the ability of a country to supply its own food needs. Whereas MPPs Bobbi and Brady and Mike Schreiner have jointly presented a private member's bill at the Ontario Legislature to protect Ontario farmlands through the establishment of an Ontario food belt. And whereas the bill would make farmlands within a designated food belt permanently protected from development. Whereas the bill is supported by the Ontario Farmland Trust, the Ontario Federation of Agriculture, the Christian Farmers Federation of Ontario, and the National Farmers Union. Therefore, be it resolved that the Township of Centre Wellington gives its support to the bill's intent for the province of Ontario to create an agricultural working group to more fully outline the contours of an Ontario food belt. And that the Township of Centre Wellington requests through our representative at the Rural Ontario Municipalities Association, ROMA, that ROMA support this bill, and that this decision be circulated to all other lower tier municipalities in Wellington County, as well as to the County of Wellington. Thank you.
Okay, so you're moving that? Okay. I'm not going to read that again because I don't even have it in there, and I do have a good memory, though very short. But okay, do we have a seconder on that, Councillor Evoy? Any further comments or questions as it relates to this? Okay, all those in favor? So moved. You guys did a good job today. Okay, thank you. Thanks again for coming to visit us today. Okay, so now we're going to move down to item 8.2, Lianne Carter, Director of Elora Centre of the Arts, Community Delegation Submission, ECFTA. Hello, Lianne.
I feel I was just present for something very important. Like I learned something, and also data speaks, right, and places importance on things. So I'm thrilled to have just witnessed that. So thank you, Mayor and councillors. I am just going to present a little update. So nothing too crazy, but it's been a while since I've come and shared what we're doing in the community, and then also specifically with our latest project. So should I just go for it? Okay. I don't know how to work this. Wait. To the right. To the right. Oh, okay. Okay. So for people that maybe are new to what the heck we do, I'll just give a very quick summary, and then I'll tell you like what we're doing and how we're growing. So we have, I think I already skipped something. Yeah. We've been around since 2002, but you've probably noticed a big difference in what we've been doing in the last 7 years. We focus on community needs. We serve the community through the arts, and that could be all kinds of different things. We are creating a vibrant sort of community center for the arts, if you want to call it that. We teach and ignite and inspire people through the arts. And so within our building, we have art space tenants. We have 12 different art space tenants. But our specific spaces that we animate are, well, before the expansion, we have a gallery, an artisan shop, a classroom, and then our outdoor spaces. You may not know, we have, like under our roof, there's about 50,000 people that come through our spaces and engage with the arts in one form or another. So it might be an exhibition, but it could be a bajillion other things. We support local artists and makers who are trying to make a living, making things, creating things. and supporting people that way. We have over 4,800 participants annually just in our programming, workshops, events, you name it. Kids camps, it's a huge one. So this is the pretty graphic, and then it's going to get ugly. But the summary of sort of what we do, like why do we claim to be a community hub? So we have tons of community partners, community events. We uplift artists in all kinds of ways. We offer programming for adults. We outreach in the community in an incredible amount of ways in groups that have identified that there's a need, there's a gap there. Children, youth, and arts groups. So that's the pretty version. But you got to get messy to really go in the weeds to say, what does that actually mean? So, Elora Fergus Studio Tour, Elora Plein Air Festival, Elora Sculpture Project, Canadian Opera Company, the Schoolhouse Art Collective, as well as a bunch of artists in the community and under our roof. Team Addie, the Film Festival, Neighborwoods, Pollination Guelph, Ontario Craft Gin Festival, the Elora Festival Singers, the Elora Community Theatre, and on and on and on. But I do want to highlight one thing that has been a growing sector for us. When Portage closed and we couldn't run our program for kids recovering from addiction anymore, we applied for some grant funding. And again, grants help push us to where the needs are, and also talking with our community help us realize where the needs are. And when you lose something, it was sad to lose Portage, but something else opened up. And isolation for seniors, mental health in seniors, also continuum of care for seniors. So not just able-bodied, active seniors who want to come and partake and do great things and learn and be creatively inspired. It's also like, what about those folks at Heritage River who are also, or Crescent Care in Wellington Terrace? So we applied for grant funding, and we take programs into those spaces to serve those communities as they struggle with sense of belonging or lack of belonging and mental health. So we started in our spaces, and now that we have our expansion, we'll be able to resume our seniors programming. But it's that continuum of care, and this is a new sector for us, so that's exciting. Okay, so then what is this expansion about? We are so close. I'm sure you've seen the walls are up. The spaces are almost complete. But I just want to remind people why we did this in the first place. We were turning away about 50% of community requests for using our space before we started this project, but it really started with accessible washrooms and accessible doorways and accessible signage and all of that. So we originally, when it was just about accessible washrooms and some doors, the Jack R. MacDonald Fund, if you recall, years ago, was that first seed money for that, when the idea was small and we just wanted a washroom and some wide doors and unbrick some windows. That's where the Jack R. MacDonald Fund came in, and there was $380,000 awarded for that. And then we used that seed money to apply to Canadian Heritage and other big bodies, and the project grew. And we expanded the idea of, okay, what does the community need in terms of this space? How can it be year-round, in the winter as well as summer, for indoor community gathering space? So then we built a 3,500 square foot addition with a multi-use atrium. It does include universal and accessible washrooms. There's 5 of them altogether. A servery kitchen, a renovated gallery space with proper controls, humidity, heat, security, all the things you actually need, as well as our community placemaking. So making sure it doesn't feel like private property, that it is publicly accessible outdoor spaces. So we're almost done. This is the update. This is the atrium view. Looking into that pink insulation area is actually where it blows through to the old building, and that is a temporary wall that actually just came down 2 days ago, and that leads into the new gallery space and then the other spaces beyond. We're just unpacking and finishing the installation of a servery kitchen and doing all the finishing touches. That's the view looking the other way towards the church and the outdoor spaces in that main atrium. There's a few of the washrooms and a water filling station. We installed some acoustic tiles in the ceiling, which is what you see there for sound absorption. And then just outdoor spaces. So these benches, each one has an extra space beside it for wheelchairs to pull up. They've been thoughtfully placed with things to look at, whether you're looking on one side of the bench or the other. And it is a community project, and like I want to say, almost all of you have come on a tour at some point or the other over the last month, so thank you. And it is a groundswell of support that people are seeing the vision, the need, and how we've proven ourselves and how we can grow. So, the money. We have raised 98% of our fundraising goal. This has been a 4-year project. We started digging 1 year ago today at 80% with the belief that once we go public, we will get there, and we are basically there. We have 80,000 left to raise. We're on budget, we're on time, and despite being faced with everything you can imagine over 4 years in an economy that is out of our control, and project costs and material costs and labor costs, cost engineering for the project. It is pretty much a small miracle that we are on time and on budget. And this just in, and it is kind of confidential, but we're launching it, I think not tomorrow, but the next day. Someone is just from the community has just said to us, what's your gap in fundraising? And we said 80,000. And they said, if your community, our community, will get that 80,000, I will personally match every dollar of that $80,000 so that it is truly another last minute incentive to get us there. So it is an incredible project, and I've been honored to be part of it. So that's it. That's the update. And then all I want to say is I think it's amazing that Township strategies align with our strategies. I mean, we're all doing the same things. I mean, you guys have so much on your plate, way more than, this little bucket, but I'm pretty proud of this little bucket, and I think there's consistency there. So let's work together more is basically it. And that, we're something that we're here 24/7, 365. And yes, we're an arts organization, but I feel like we're an economic driver. We drive tourism. So I think there is a proven need and role for us in the community. And I look forward to talking about all of that at a later date. But that's the update.
Thank you, Lianne. Comments, questions from Council? Councillor MacDonald.
Through you, Mayor Waters, this has truly been a leap of faith example of what an organization can do. And it wouldn't have happened without you also directing it and driving it. And it was a lot of work for you. I know. Lots of galas, lots of input. Our strategic plans do align. And that is one thing that I've enjoyed being part of this council, is that we came up with a strategic plan to incorporate all of this. And so thank you so much. I loved my tour. I'm so excited to see how far you've come just since I've been there in the last month. So that's incredible. Going forward, are you hopeful? Like, are you already receiving requests for events in this space and something like that?
Yes. So we're hoping, in terms of real timelines, our goal is to have free flowing open spaces by, let's call it November 15th. Not a grand opening by any means, but testing the space, flow of people, getting the wayfinding signage. Like, it won't be perfect, but we will have flow of people and things to do and see. And then in the new year, we'll do an official grand opening, ribbon cutting, and big community celebration. Yeah.
Any other comments or questions? I just want to put in a plug for the group as well. I know you have 80,000 still to finish off. There's opportunities for the community to buy a brick.
Yes, there is.
Yes.
And that would be matched too. So even a buy a brick is the $500. We have this beautiful brick wall as you walk in. And so even a brick will get matched. So actually 2 bricks get bought for every person who pledges a brick. And a brick is $500. Yeah. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. If there's no other comments or questions for Lianne, again, thank you for your presentation, and we look forward to continue working with you.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks
for
again.
having me.
Okay. We'll move down to item 8.3, Mayor's County Council report. Nothing on that end. I know Council, thank you again, company. Nothing to report on County Council. I'll have my next opportunity. I'll bring up some things that we discussed literally today, but I'll bring that at our next meeting. So I'm now going to go down to item 8.4, Councillors Committee updates. Councillors. Yes, Councillor Welton.
Just a quick update as a reminder. I think I've mentioned these all before, but the Fergus BIA is busy working away at some fall and Christmas related events. So great opportunities to go downtown Fergus. On Saturday, October 25th is the Halloween Haunt Street Walk, and there's a whole bunch of things associated with that, including an adult costume competition, I believe. Kim can correct me if I'm wrong, but and so that'll be fun. So Fergus will be all decorated up for Halloween, which will be great. And then in December, there is the late night sip and shop on 2 Friday nights, December 5th and December 12th from 6 to 9 for late night shopping. And I believe there'll be like the horse and carriage rides through historic downtown Fergus and all those nice things. So check those out. And their AGM, I am missing the date at the moment, but their AGM is coming up and they are going to use Melville United Church as the venue, which is Melville's getting into opening up their spaces to the community as well. So it's good.
Councillor Jefferson.
Thank you, Mayor Waters. For the Economic Prosperity and Growth Committee, we had multiple presentations that took place. There was a presentation on our multi-use rec facility, and overall, everything was very positive about it. They're happy to see that it's prioritized in our 10-year plan, and when can it be done is basically, everybody's excited. There was mention that there's going to be a youth discount, and if senior fees discounts could also be discussed. And that the revenue neutral operation setup as it's presented is very positive and well received. There was a presentation on our MAT tax and the Municipal Service Corporation setup. It was very well received as well. There wasn't too many comments. Everybody kind of wants to see how it's going to be rolled out. And then we had a larger presentation on the tourism and economic development strategy. There was really good discussion. Some of the people were wanting it to be recognized that the number of jobs created by tourism that comes to the area, and then how the tourism jobs also will impact our housing strategy and our transit study. And then also for the topic of the day, our ag sector, there was brought up that there was concerns in the study that the ag sector was only being represented as a job number in this report and not as an economic driver for our economic development, for all the jobs that kind of fall out of the ag sector, that it's supported and it shouldn't be lost in this report. There was also a connection made to the Highland Pines, that there's a missed opportunity there for the number of people that come in seasonally, that we could be looking at shuttle, transit, different opportunities there for the number of people that are actually living out in Bellwood. So those were some of the major comments that were made. And I know our Elora BIA is having next week our meeting, and most of it's going to kind of go around the budget. So if anybody has ideas for the 2026 budget, to put them forward at the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jefferson. Councillor McDonald.
Through you, Mayor Waters, just one update from the Victoria Park Senior Center Committee. Thursday, November 20th at 2 p.m. will be their annual general meeting, and they're hoping to have quorum so they can get a few things passed. They are working on their constitution, but that has to be passed by having quorum at the November 20th meeting. And just a shout out there, some of their bus trips, they've got a few spots left. They're kind of cool, these trips, so I would look at them. And that's it.
Thank you, Councillor McDonald. Councillor Wilton.
Thank you, Mayor Waters, and I'll ask Councillor Adams to jump in if I miss anything, but we did have a lively discussion at the Healthy Communities Advisory Committee about the decision to prioritize the multi-use recreation facility. There was like lots of ideas in multiple directions, but there was some concern that there should be more collaboration with the schools to use existing school facilities, things like that. So there was a good discussion around the pros and cons of collaborating with schools and what's been tried in the past and what the kind of conversation is going forward. Concern that there be one facility in Fergus that might leave people in Elora out. So that kind of led into a discussion regarding transit. So it was really nice we were able to discuss that we are actually doing a transit study right now. So that was a good, healthy discussion around that. There was also some comments that there have been some studies related to health impacts of indoor turf, and our Director of Community Services commented that that would be looked at as we got closer to an actual construction. But yeah, definitely that's an important thing to make sure we're doing everything with best practices when it comes to indoor turf facilities. So that was a good thing that was brought forward. Some concern about how expensive a MRF might be when we still have things like rural bridges out of commission, but that's also explained that these things come from different kind of pots of money and different sources of funding. So I think that was alleviated. Other comments that it was really important to plan for growth. As was mentioned earlier today, this community is growing, almost doubling in size in the next 25 years. So this will be an important facility for the whole community, and that it's a little more accessible for all age groups and all types of activities, as opposed to, say, an ice pad. So those were some of the discussions around the multi-use recreation facility. We also had a presentation about the amenities for the active transportation master plan, which was really good. So I think there's a working group who's going to really dive deep into where bike racks and water bottle filling stations are and that kind of thing. So that was good. And then there's a new park north of the Trestle Trail Bridge that Pat was encouraging everyone to check out. I have not had a chance to yet, but it's quite a nice new park called Harrison Park. So I think that was my comments, and I'll just pass it over to Councillor Adams if there's anything else.
Thank you. I think you checked almost everything. I do want to mention that Pat also let us know that the community grant deadline closes as of September 30th. Is that right? Or no?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. It closed. Yeah, it's closed. So that will be a lot of work coming up on our advisory committee as they go through all those applications and bring recommendations forward. And I think the group worked really well last year in kind of cleaning up that process. So good luck to to all of the working group there. And I think there was a couple policy updates maybe forthcoming, which would be presented to the committee, DEI Council, one being the ice allocation policy update. And there was like an indoor-outdoor use policy. Maybe scratch that one. Ice allocation for sure. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Councillor Evoy.
Thank you, sir. Through you. First of all, with regards to farm safety, sadly, there's been several farm and farm-related accidents that were discussed at the most recent meeting, and the committee continues to look for creative ways to educate both people who live on and don't live on farms about farm safety. Also from DEI, just a note that we didn't have quorum, and that if someone is interested in getting involved, to please reach out to our county clerk and or Devlin if you'd like to get involved on that committee.
Councillor McDonald.
Through you, Mayor Waters. It's noted, I did drive by Harris Street Park. It's right off the bike path. And so I toured around on my bike, and I took some biker friends with me. And I encourage everyone from council to go out and see this park. It truly is phenomenal. It's a hidden gem. It aligns beautifully with some of the housing. I think the developers were Haylock and Youngblood that paid for the park, but there's a half basketball court. It's all paved. There's an overhang place with picnic tables so parents can watch their children. But I look at it as it was completely accessible for seniors and children. And so please go see it. And thank you to Councillor Wilton for bringing it up.
Okay, and other comments or updates from council? Okay, thank you, council, for your updates. So now we're going to move down to item number 9, delegations. And our first delegation is McLean Hahn, and my understanding is McLean, and he's here to represent the Elora BIA regarding agenda item 11.4, Elora Green Space lighting. And my understanding, McLean is online.
Not here just yet.
He's not here. So okay, so what we'll do is we'll move on to 9.2, and then if we're still in, we'll get to McLean if he comes back on. So Erica Montero, regarding 11.4, Elora Green Space lighting. Thank you for yeah, come on up. Yeah, no worries. Thanks for juggling here. Okay.
Well, I know that was a very embarrassing little. I realized the camera's on me, so that didn't help. But I was waiting for the instruction to come. Sorry, I apologize. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Thank you. My name's Erica, and I'm sure you're tired of hearing from me, but I am the former chair of the Elora BIA, and I'm here today to urge Council to deny the Elora Green Space lighting proposal in full. When this project was first approved by Council last year, it came with the very clear condition that it would be fully funded by a private donor. The Township entered into a 5-year donation agreement that could be terminated by either party, but there was never any mention of taxpayer dollars being used. That agreement has now ended after only 1 year for reasons that have not been made public. Yet, here we are being asked to spend nearly $12,000 of public money on something that was supposed to cost residents nothing. As a taxpayer, I find this not only shocking, but deeply inappropriate. The mere suggestion that the public should now foot the bill for what was a privately funded project is very concerning. It furthers an us versus them mentality between residents, businesses, and local government. And it sends the wrong message about accountability. Taxpayers should not be expected to quietly absorb the costs of private or promotional projects that were never theirs to begin with. It's tone deaf, it's divisive, and it's wrong. Frankly, I am disgusted that this is even being proposed. If Council approves this, it sets a very dangerous precedent. It tells donors that they can come forward with flashy, high visibility projects, shape how public spaces look and feel, and then walk away, leaving taxpayers or the BIA to clean up the bill. That is prime corporate manipulation disguised as generosity. And let's be clear, it is the BIA levy that exists to relieve pressure on the general tax base. If this project no longer had a donor and the Township wished to continue it, it should have gone to the BIA for discussion at a properly called open meeting. But that didn't happen. Instead, the Elora BIA board discussed this unbudgeted $12,000 expense over email outside of public view, then sent a letter of support for the report and asking the general membership for feedback on the $12,000 spend on the Friday before a Thanksgiving long weekend. That's a direct violation of open meeting requirements, and it's not how responsible or transparent financial decisions are made. And remember, the Elora BIA still owes the Township for the $50,000 interest-free loan it took just last year to buy the Starburst holiday lights. Only the first payment would have been made so far. That loan program was designed for not-for-profit organizations, which the BIA is not, and it's tying up funds that could support other community groups with far greater benefit to residents. Before taking on new holiday projects, the BIA should focus on paying off the debt it already owes to taxpayers. Beyond the financials, there's also an environmental cost. Elora already has more holiday lighting than any other part of Centre Wellington. The illumination last year was so bright, I'm sure you could see Elora from the International Space Station. In all seriousness, excessive illumination disrupts bird migration, stresses trees and wildlife, interferes with sleep cycles, and adds to light pollution. We can celebrate the holidays without harming our environment or spending money unnecessarily. If the Township already owns these lights, surely they can be repurposed elsewhere in Centre Wellington, somewhere that actually needs holiday lighting, and where the installation won't cost $12,000. That number alone raises questions about who's being contracted, whether it's going to tender, and if the Township's procurement policy is being followed. Donor-funded projects are exempt from the procurement policy, but no donor, no exemption. It also raises process concerns. The original agreement allowed either party to terminate before June 30th. So, did the Township know by then that the donor funding had ended? And if so, why is this only now coming before Council months later? Why was the BIA not asked to pay for it months ago? Finally, I want to stress one last point. Allowing the BIA to take this on with no planning, no strategic budgeting, and no financial accountability continues the pattern of council advocating its oversight role. The BIA is a local board of council. Its funds are collected through the township on commercial property tax bills. The board does not get to spend that money however it wants, and it should not be making last-minute, emotionally driven decisions over email without public process or financial discipline. Denying this proposal in full sends a clear message. Public funds will not be used to bail out privately initiated projects or enable poor last-minute financial governance by a local board. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica. Any questions for clarifications for Erica? Thank you again for your presentation. Now,
It's just having some computer trouble.
Okay.
So let's wait.
Okay, so then we'll go down to 9.3, Kathy Daltrey. Again, speaking to the Elora Green Space Slating. Welcome, Kathy.
Welcome. Okay. Good afternoon, Township people and Council, and of course, Mayor Waters. I completely agree with all the financial facts that Erica brought out to your attention. I'm not going to reiterate any of them. I'm in complete support to what she had already laid out to you. So I'm speaking today as a business owner, as a Centre Wellington Township member, and as also a previous BIA person as well. Over the weekend, I was on social media and saw a lot of people commenting. Somebody had put a post up, and there was a lot of comments on this lighting. And, there was some people that were saying, I give up a coffee a day to have the lights. And I think, part of this is that they're really not aware of what this report actually is. And so the general public is thinking it's the lights in Elora, when in fact, business owners will not change. They are still going to be putting up the lights if they choose to or not choose to. The starburst lights, as Eric had mentioned from the BIA, those are still going to go up as per normal. This is not about the Elora lights. This is not about lighting up Elora. This is about $12,000 to put into the green space, to wrap around some trees, to take them off and put them on and take them off. This would be a yearly absorbed within the township, and it's just not appropriate. With saying that, as my understanding is from the report, that these are now town council lights. And since the donor has decided not to continuing on their contract 4 years out of the 5 that they entered into it, there is no reason that we need to put those lights exactly where they were. There is nothing saying that it needs to go into the green space and light up those trees or anything else. If they are Centre Wellington lights, there is many other places within Centre Wellington that can use lightage, that these are not going to be a private business that we're paying for them to be installed, when in fact it would be probably township employees installing them, and there would not be an additional $12,000 a year to incur for some lights that can actually be installed elsewhere. Just having a check on my lights since I'm like going off script. I'm really far ahead. And yeah, and then lastly, I guess I just want to say that there's been many lights that have been purchased over the years. Back when I was on the BIA in 2023, they took $2,000 out of the Starlight budget to buy, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 133 sets of lights for I think a total cost of around $2,000 for that green space the BIA paid for. So again, I just really don't know how much lights we need to keep going on top of lights that are already proposed for the downtown area, when if these lights in fact are now Centre Wellington's, really there is much more places that this needs to be spread out to and not be spending $12,000. That's it for me.
Thank you, Kathy. Questions for clarifications for Lisa?
Through you, Mayor Waters, thank you for coming. Yeah, you have a good idea. Like, could we spread the lights down East Mill? We just did that whole reconstruction.
I'm not even saying Elora. I'm saying there is all kinds in Centre, in Fergus, and Centre Wellington's a big area. There's Bellwood, there's, Fergus, Eris, whatever. Like, it's a big area. I'm just saying it doesn't need to go in Elora. I think we have a lot of lights already set up for Elora, and that maybe we can choose to take these lighting somewhere else that the township can put it in. So, yeah, that's my thought on that.
Okay. Any other questions for clarification? Thank you for your presentation, Kathy.
Thank you for your time.
And I see McLean is with us. McLean Hahn from the Elora BIA and regarding the Elora green space lighting. Welcome, McLean, and go ahead with your presentation.
Good afternoon. You'd think that after 5 years of doing Zoom calls since COVID started that we would have had all this technology figured out. I guess not. Good afternoon, Mayor Waters, Council, and Township staff. I apologize for not being present. I'm doing this from home as I am not feeling 100%. So what we're talking about today is the lighting of the green space. When we were approached nearing the end of last week, and by we, I mean the Elora BIA, we got to work building consensus on how to solve the issue of green space lighting. We sent a letter to the BIA catchment in order to garner feedback. All of the feedback that we received was positive, meaning that they are supporting the initiative as it stands. With that said, just as Township wasn't expecting this added expense to their budget, neither was the BIA. The BIA meets next week. At that meeting, we will discuss how to squeeze any available money out of the budget, out of the 2025 budget. At this moment, I'm unable to quote what that dollar amount will be because we have yet to have that meeting or that discussion in full. Our goal is to fund a portion of this year and to find the money to continue lighting up the green space in the future for future budgets. We ask that you please work with us this year. The first pillar of your strategic plan is create the conditions for economic prosperity. Lighting up the green space does just that. The magical feeling of downtown illuminated draws many visitors, keeps our visitors longer into the evening, and has more positive financial spin-offs than I could mention in the few minutes that we have together here today. Also, a busy fourth quarter allows many of us the ability to keep our employees on payroll through the very slow months of the winter. 750,000 people visited Elora last year. Now, when that number is shared with a resident, it is usually accompanied by the negative effects: congestion, parking, busy restrooms, the occasional blocked driveway, and of course, overflowing garbage cans. And those are real challenges. And I would never try to discount those challenges. But sadly, the rhetoric surrounding that has a tendency to vilify tourism. And I challenge each of you sitting here to stand up for our small businesses when we talk about tourism. And I ask anyone that is frustrated about our busy downtown streets to consider what busy downtown streets actually translates to. And that is employment. We employ your neighbors, we employ your friends, we employ your children. It's simple. Tourism equals jobs, and illuminating the green space will help to bring more tourism into the village during the month of December. Thank you very much for listening, and I'm happy to answer any questions as needed.
Thank you, McLean. Questions for clarification, Councillor Evoy.
Thank you. Through you, sir. Can you please let me know if this question's out of line? I'm curious what the current budget is. How much is currently in the bank at, I don't know if I'm allowed to ask it, and if I'm allowed to ask it here. How much money is currently in your account for the Elora BIA?
Thank you for the question. Barb, currently, we are facing some challenges in regaining access to the BI bank account. So our vision of what is in the bank account isn't 100% accurate at the moment. We are regaining access hopefully by the end of this week.
Okay, thanks, McLean.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for clarification for McLean? Okay. Lisa.
Through you, Mayor Waters. Thanks for coming, McLean. So you're going to discuss this at the next BIA meeting. It will be on their agenda, your agenda?
That's correct. That's Tuesday, October 21st.
Okay. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Any other questions for clarification for McLean? Okay. Thank you, McLean, for your presentation. And we'll move on now off of this. And then there'll be opportunity for further discussion as it relates to a report coming to council. So, okay. So I'm going to move down to item 10, consent items. However, any member of council may request one or more items be removed from the council agenda for separate action. So I'll just read the recommendation. Recommendation that council of the Township of Centre Wellington approve consent agenda items 1 through 4 and 6. Is that right?
2
Taken 2 out.
So what was that again?
Items
3 to 6.
10.1, 10.3 through 10.6.
You know what? I'll just hold off on the recommendation. Well, okay, and then we'll come back to that. So, anyways, so we have those consent items in front. Are there any questions or comments as relates to any of those? Okay. So I just gave you a moment there to revise that.
Item 10.1, 10.3 through 6. 10.6.
Okay, I'll read the recommendation that the Council of Township of Centre Wellington approve consent agenda items 10.1 and 10.3 through 10.6. Do we have a mover for that? Councillor Wilton, seconder on that. Councillor Adams, any comments or questions as it relates to those items? All those in favor? So moved. Okay. Now we're down to item 11, consideration of reports. Okay, so transit feasibility study, notice of study commencement, and an invitation to participate. And we have Colin. Welcome, Colin Baker.
Good afternoon, everyone. Mayor Waters and members of council. So as council will recall, we received a grant earlier this year through the Rural Transit Solutions Fund. And this grant is allowing us to proceed with a transit services feasibility study. And so I'm very pleased to be here today to present that the township is in the process of commencing this feasibility study with the purpose of identifying a preferred transit solution that considers population and employment growth in the township to the 2051 planning horizon. The study will assess current and future opportunities to provide transit services, potential connectivity to regional transit hub in neighboring communities, and ultimately identify a recommended transit solution. So through the study, we'll be looking at various existing mobility options, project future transit demand in the community, assess various service alternatives to meet these future demands, and recommend and develop a recommended transit service strategy, which is going to include an implementation plan, financial model, and also a governance structure. So we're going to build on our successes so far. We've got the Elora Fergus Downtown Shuttle. There's also RideWell, like Wellington County's on-demand transit service as well. And so we'll be considering those programs through this process. And through the competitive process, the township has retained Dillon Consulting. And so I've just got a few slides here just to kind of jump through and just to go over the process, kind of where we are and where we're going to. And so, yeah, so just talked about the purpose. So there's some existing service providers that either operate locally or pass through the area. The one I haven't mentioned yet, so Ghost, right? So this is the Guelph to Owen Sound transit, starts up in Owen Sound and heads down to Guelph, makes that trip twice daily. And then also the Wellington Transportation Services volunteer transit service. And yeah, we're really looking at connecting major destinations. So where do people want to go? You know, we're really trying to get quite a bit of feedback at this stage in terms of, you know, what the community is looking in terms of a service, a transit service for the community. So what are the major destinations and where are those people looking to access the service? Those regional connections as well. So obviously Guelph Transit, there's Grand River Transit that services Waterloo region and gets as close as Elmira. And also, you know, potential connections to the north, maybe even Orangeville as well. So we're just trying to assess the demand for service in those areas. Also rural as well, Inverhaw, you know, Bellwood. I think we heard about Highland Pines as well, trying to assess demand locally within the township. So we are here. So step one. So we're in round one community engagement, and we started in September. We had a meeting with the Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee early in September. We've conducted some one-on-one interviews with council, and just in terms of where we're going from here. We're kind of open for this first round of consultation through November. And there'll be a background report kind of summarizing that consultation in December. And then we go into a second round of engagement early in the new year. So kind of what we heard and start to build what the options for transit look like and get more detailed comments on the options for the community, and then wrapping things up in the spring with the final report to council. And so just in the short term, we've got the survey, which I think just opened up about 15 minutes ago. So the survey is online. It's on connectcw.ca/transit study. So we've got a new landing page on ConnectCW with the link to the survey. So we're really, going to try to get as many to complete that survey as possible. Great, give us all that feedback that we're looking for. So today's the public launch. We have a notice going in the advertiser, and we've got pretty substantive mailing lists, although we won't be mailing them right now. We'll send out some emails, I think, at this time to our list. And just in terms of other activities scheduled over the next month or so, we've got Key Projects Open House. We'll have a booth there, and some paper surveys and comment forms for people to fill out. We're trying to get into the high school and get some kind of more focus group sessions in Centre Wellington District High School. On November 5th, we'll be at Healthy Communities Advisory Committee introducing the project, and also some stakeholder meetings held out through October, November as well. So very much a listening phase right now. And just so we've got some preliminary feedback already. And I think one of the things we're finding, just looking at some of the data that we're analyzing so far, whether it's some of the existing transit. There's a strong demand for service to Guelph. A lot of trips happening to Guelph right now. So that's something that we're going to be looking very closely at. And then also pretty strong demand for service, I think, just locally too, whether it's maybe trips within Fergus or trips between Fergus and Elora. So definitely we'll be examining that in more detail. So I think with that, so we're excited to get this started. I feel like we've been talking about transit and the potential and the possibilities of transit for a number of years now. So we're really excited to get things going. And I think at this point, we'll open it up for questions.
Thank you, Colin. Councillor Adams.
Thank you, through you. I just want to acknowledge all the work and effort that staff have put in up to this point. I think it's exciting. I'm looking forward to everything that comes back for that. And I really like the idea of like focusing on that engagement with the youth in the high schools, because we know between seniors, youth are usually one of the bigger users of public transit. So that's great to see. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions from council? Thank you for getting this going. We know that as our community continues to grow, this is a very important component that way, and it involves the ability to everyone to have the ability to move around the community, especially if we have a sort of more mixed community in terms of the amount of, we obviously want to encourage youth and encourage all types of folks, even those folks without vehicles as well, or don't have accessibility to in a great way. This will provide an opportunity for a lot of folks and equitability, which is, I think, really important, and it makes a more fulsome and complete community. So appreciate sort of the efforts, and we look forward to the process. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move down to item 11. Oh, sorry. Yes, I apologize. I was so excited about it. I didn't read the recommendation that the Council of Township of Centre Wellington received for information on a transit feasibility study, notice of study commencement, and invitation to participate as outlined in report number IS 2025-31. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Wilton, seconder on that. Councillor McDonald. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? So moved. Item 11.2, pre-consultation regarding draft updates to the Grand River Source Protection Plan. I think I see in the corner of my eye, here comes Kyle, and our risk management official to speak to that. Welcome, Kyle.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, members of council. We're also joined by Jan Ivey, who's with the Grand River Conservation Authority, and she's on virtually via Zoom. She's not yet. Okay. Will be joining us shortly. So the report in front of you is for your consideration. It's related to proposed amendments to the Grand River Source Protection Plan, which protects the municipal wellhead protection areas for Centre Wellington, as well as other parts of the County of Wellington within the Grand River. Specifically, what's in front of you are policy amendments to the water quantity policies. So we do have a water quantity wellhead protection area for Centre Wellington, and there will be a wellhead protection area for quantity coming soon for the southern parts of the county and the city of Guelph. And that change down there has resulted in some policy wording changes. So in the report, we did outline what some of these policy wording changes are. Some are very administrative, editorial, and then there are one or two that I did want to draw to your attention. So there is some clarifying language being placed around the province's approval process related to different provincial instruments that occur during this within this wellhead protection area for quantity, including the permit to take waters. Also, there's some language being clarified in some of the planning policies, and there's also been a proposed risk management plan policy related to low impact development that's also been proposed in this amendment. So the report in front of you is for consideration of those changes, and if you so direct, endorsement of that through resolution.
Okay, thank you, Kyle. Are we still not? No. Okay. Okay. I'll open up for questions or comments from council. Well, you're very thorough, Kyle. And we know the good works that you folks are always on top of that in terms of the protection of our wellheads and really important work that you do. So we really do appreciate that. So I'll read the recommendation that the Council Township of Centre Wellington endorse the draft water quantity policy amendments to the Grand River Source Protection Plan as per Section 34 of the Clean Water Act. Do we have a mover for that? Councillor Evoy, seconder on that. Councillor Craddock. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? So moved. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move down to Operation Center construction update, and Brandon is now approaching the lectern, and he's the Operation Center project manager to provide us some updates. Welcome, Brandon.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for having me. I'm excited to be here today to provide a brief update on where we're at with the Operations Center. So a quick overview of the presentation. I'll go through kind of construction progress update, overall project milestones and budget update, and then kind of how we're going to move forward, keeping council and the public updated. So as far as construction goes, Ball Construction has mobilized, and if you haven't drove by the site, it's clear to see that they're there. They're making great progress. The site, all the topsoil has been stripped off the site, and the area grading has been completed, and site servicing is about 95% complete. The supply and install of the concrete reinforcing is ongoing and will continue over the next several weeks. To date, we've poured about 15% of the concrete footings for the buildings. We are placing fill. As you may recall, the site was quite low. So we've been working since about July, bringing in fill, and that operation has completed. So all the fill that we need for the site has now been brought to site. The pond area has been graded to subgrade, and we'll continue to kind of finalize the components of the pond over the coming weeks. Water main is all installed and commissioned, and the shop drawing process is well underway. And just for further clarity, the shop drawing process is basically all of the components for the project. The subcontractors will submit the specification sheets. So it's all the way from the concrete reinforcing, structural steel, right down to the doorknobs. All these specifications come to the general contractor to ensure compliance with the overall spec. So that process is well underway. So the major milestones for the project, I just want to kind of highlight some of them. So the foundations have started for the admin building, along with the elevator shaft. The structural steel for the office, the admin building, is expected to arrive next month. So you'll really start to see the shell of the admin building come together. The shop or back of house, that is expected to start the structural steel in the new year. Then once the structural steel is up, you'll start to see the walls being formed, and that'll start in the winter and continue throughout the winter into the spring. The solar design, that is continuing and developing, and we hope to have it finalized over the next month or two. The life safety commissioning, so that's like your fire alarms, your fire suppression systems, the elevator, any other occupancy requirements are all expected in the fall of next year, with a targeted completion of fall of 2026. As far as the budget goes, just as kind of a recap, the overall construction budget was $28.2 million. Of that, $26.8 million is with Ball, their contract, and that's including both design and construction. And at this point, we've invoiced 13%. Ball has invoiced 13% of that overall construction value and which have been paid. And at this point, there are no budget implications expected. As far as keeping council up to date, the plan would be to do a similar update to every second meeting. So we'll be back in December, kind of highlighting the progress that's been made and update any schedules with the major milestones as well. And then these reports will also be added to Connect CW. We're actually going to do them more frequently. Monthly, we'll have updates posted on Connect CW. So bringing the public along the journey as well so that they can see. And we'll include visuals, lots of pictures. And we've even arranged for a drone to be flown over periodically that will be uploading that footage as well for the public. And now I'll just conclude with a couple of photos just to illustrate. This photo here is the earthworks progressing. Here you can see this is what I would call the east stairwell, the footings for the east stairwell. You can kind of see off to the left, that footing there is for the elevator shaft. And on the right, that's the walls being formed up for the elevator shaft. And then on the left is the storm outlet leading to the stormwater management pond. And that concludes the presentation. I'll open it up to any questions.
Thank you, Brandon. Questions, comments? Councillor Wilton.
Thank you, Brandon, for your presentation. I think my question might be more for CAO Wilson, but maybe you want to answer it first. I'm just curious if you can remind me, like when the offices would be ready and when people will start moving in, and maybe for Dan would be which units are moving there and how that's going to be kind of rolled out. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I can answer both. So we're expecting to start moving in late fall of next year. And we're actually working right now on a plan on how that's all going to roll out and what departments will go in first. And just with all of the IT equipment that's going to be brought in, we want to have a solid plan on ensuring a smooth transition from the existing facilities into this facility. So that hasn't been determined yet, but we're working on that. As far as what groups will be moving over, so on the main floor, that's the planning and development staff. And then on that'll be infrastructure services along with community services, and IT will be at the back. And then in the shop, that's where we'll have roads and our water and some park staff as well.
Just for a follow-up, and this one I think maybe more for Dan, but thank you for the answer. That was great. Just curious if there's going to be space available. Like, do all those people's units take up all of the office space that's available, or will there be office space for us to continue to grow? And I'm thinking in particular for the Municipal Services Corporation, if there can be a hub there for that group where they'd be close to the business park and close to the industrial lands there. So just curious on kind of the next steps after our current staff kind of move in. So thank you.
Through Mayor Waters, there's definitely room to grow within what we're building. There'll be some free space when we initially open the doors, so we can look to how we can use that going forward. And we still haven't decided where the Municipal Service Corporation will be housed out of, but I think that's a future conversation that we can have.
Along the same lines. At one point, we had talked about the possibility of, if there is free space, that you could actually lease it out for maybe a private sector company or something like that as a way to bring in revenue for the township. So I'm just curious if that's still being discussed or if that's shelved for now for future conversation as well. And just wondering if that's still maybe something we can talk about at some point. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, through Mayor Waters. We've talked about the opportunity. I think right now the space, it's like open concept right now, and
But I think the Municipal Service Corporation is definitely an opportunity because it is effectively kind of, there'll still be township staff. But to have another entity that's kind of cordoned off, we haven't really built that into the plan at this stage. And I think there would be challenges just in terms of the office area and sharing like lunch rooms and, you know, that sort of thing. Yeah, I guess, it's not that it would be impossible. I think there'd be some challenges, and it's not worked into this design as it stands today.
Through Mayor Waters, and to add to Colin's response, we are still contemplating the future use of the farmhouse as well. So that's something we're starting to put our minds to, and we'll be back to council at some point to bring you our recommendations.
Other questions, comments from council? Councillor Jefferson.
Thank you, Mayor Waters. My question's a bit of an aside, just triggering with the farmhouse use. Do we still have the healthcare workers working in there? And then what is our timeline to have them moved out to the new construction on Union Street? Thanks.
Yeah, thanks through you, Mayor Waters. The healthcare professionals were already moved out. We had them moved out at the end of June, just with all of the activity and the loud construction activity that was going to go on. We already had moved them out, which was a good thing. That house rattles and shakes with every truck that goes by. That it wouldn't have been enjoyable. So they are out for now, and I understand they are in another location in the meantime, that once Union Street has been completed, they'll be moved into that as well. As far as the timing goes for Union, I can't speak to that. Maybe Colin would be able to.
Yeah, so completion of Union Street, I think in the contract we've got it's like the end of November at this stage. So so at that point, once it's fully renovated, we could move the healthcare professionals out of the kind of temporary residence they're at now into the Union Street house. Yep.
Any further comments or questions for Brandon? I had the opportunity to come and have a bit of a visit last week. The site's looking great. A lot of stuff below grade that's been dealt with, and that's obviously a very important component, and the weather's been cooperative that way. Looking forward to, we talked about, we'd love to take council there in a good time in the spring, not maybe when it's a little bit warmer, but to have a tour of the site, and then it gives you an opportunity to ask questions and see things, and there'll be a lot more to most likely to see at that time of the year. So we'll reach out to council that way when that and based on Brandon and staff's recommendation in terms of when we come to visit, but definitely that's in the plans. So, okay. Well, thank you very much for your presentation. I'll read the recommendation that the Council of Township of Centre Wellington receives for information report IS 2025-30 Operations Centre Construction Update. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Jefferson, a seconder on that. Councillor Wilton. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? So moved. Okay, now we're going to go to item 11.4, green space lighting. Who's going? Oh, okay, it's Pat. So we're going to speak to this.
Yeah, I'm filling in. Lucas is off today, so I'm going to take on this presentation. Thank you, through you, Mayor. The lighting of the Elora green space represents more than just an aesthetic enhancement. It plays a critical role in attracting visitors, supporting local businesses, and enriching our community's overall appeal. Staff recommend the council consider a funding contribution for the installation of the illumination of the Elora green space this season. I didn't know if that was a question. Okay. Sorry. This expense was not anticipated in the 2025 operating budget when it was prepared. And yet it's a beautiful, sorry, let me just go. It was not part of the operating budget when that was prepared and approved by council. It is vital for the beautification efforts in Elora. The illumination of the Elora green space during the 2024 and 2025 winter season was made possible through a donation agreement, under which lights were purchased and are now the property of the township. The value of last year's donation for the green space was just over $26,000. To install the lights this winter, it will incur a cost of $11,835. This cost encompasses the rental of a lift, fencing, and that's both for installation and removal, as well as labor expenses. The significant cost of purchasing the lights was done through that donation last year, and this cost has been through our standard procurement procedures. Last season's lighting was donated for the Elora Green Space, the Jack R. McDonald Pedestrian Bridge, and the Tourism Information Centre. Upon evaluation of overall expense and benefit, staff recommended focusing on installing the lights in the green space due to its potential impact. The lighting plan is attached to the report. Although last season featured more lights than this plan, adjustments are made due to the removal of 2 trees from the Elora green space. Consequently, the total number of lights this season will be less than those installed last year, but will continue to be impactful. The installer requires a decision soon to prepare for installation. The lights will be installed in time to be lit following Remembrance Day and will remain active until the end of February and removal at the early March. This ensures the park is illuminated for Elora's annual Starlight Shopping event in November. The lights in Centre Wellington are enjoyed by local residents, not just the tourists. Council's strategic plan includes goals to create conditions for economic prosperity with specific initiatives aimed to enhancing the vibrancy of our downtowns and welcoming and accommodating tourism. Centre Wellington is reputed as a tourism destination, contributing to a vibrant downtown in both communities. This reputation is aspirational for many communities struggling to sustain a lively economy in their downtowns. The township has been supporting and intentionally building economic benefits from tourism for years. This lighting investment is a small amount in the comparison to the significant work being done for the bigger picture. Tourism has been a deliberate strategy of Council, even prior to the 2017 Destination Marketing and Management Organization Action Plan. More recently, Council received the Centre Wellington Economic Development and Tourism Strategy Report for information, which is currently circulating for comment. This strategy is a pivot from attracting high-value tourists. Council has also received a report on September 29th, which was an update to the municipal accommodation tax, and Council approved the new Municipal Services Corporation structure for economic development and tourism services. All this is a launching pad for creating a destination management organization to support tourism. These documents are multi-year strategies to improve economic development in Centre Wellington. All these efforts are focused on fostering economic prosperity while attracting valuable tourist engagement. The momentum generated from tourism can be further supported by this lighting project. Yes, this year the strategy would be to use township funding to install the lighting in the Elora green space. And hopefully the Elora BIA can assist with some support. The bigger picture is that Council has laid the groundwork for tourism to support tourism efforts, and that is the future for Centre Wellington. I would like to note that visitors are already reaching out to staff at the Tourism Information Centre to inquire about the lighting schedule as they plan to visit our community with intentions to stay, dine, shop, and enjoy our downtowns. Local businesses and employees benefit greatly from these injections of visitors during what is traditionally a slower tourism time. As presented earlier by the BIA delegation, staff have reached out to the Elora BIA for potential support in funding the lights. There may be some assistance available, although as they have explained, that exact value remains undetermined or may not even be possible. They have to host their meeting first. Consequently, staff are requesting the full funding amount at this time to secure the necessary vendor for the services. Should the BIA contribute, it will be reduced the amount needed from the township. The township currently supports the installation of lighting through its own workforce and in collaboration with CW Hydro. Using township and CW Hydro equipment and human resources, Given the specific equipment needed for this green space lighting, this installation requires outsourcing to a vendor. Currently, a combination of these resources from CW Hydro and Township are used to support lighting in Elora and Fergus downtowns. In Elora, the Township performs the installation and removal of seasonal lighting on the decorative poles, and these lights are owned by the BIA. Decoration of 3 evergreen trees and the hanging large wreath at 1 McDonald Square, all that is owned by the Township and performed by the Township. Or I should say, whenever I say Township, I also mean CW Hydro. We have different types of lifts that allow for different type of work. Prior to 2024, the Township installed lights on 2 trees in the Elora green space, and those are Township-owned lights. There is a precedent to support lighting the Elora green space. I can share that without these proposed lights, the green space is dark. Even with the lighting efforts previous to 2024, the space was relatively dark compared to the recent efforts. In Fergus, the Township performs installation and removal of the seasonal lighting on the decorative poles, same as what is done in Elora. And these lights are also owned by the Fergus BIA. Township installs lights owned by the BIA for lighting the Riverlands and the pedestrian bridge with string lights. The BIA owns the holiday swag lights that cross St. Andrews Street, and they pay for the installation and removal. And the BIA owns the lights for Templin Garden and the Wayscale building, and they pay for that installation. In the 2024 and 2025, the Township applied and received a grant to light Fergus downtown. The total investment was just over $101,000, supported by My Main Street Grant and RTO4. It was also launched as a CIP opportunity for Fergus downtown businesses. There was significant time required from staff also to coordinate that project. In future years, this funding gap for this season can be addressed during budget discussions and as part of the BIA budget. Looking short-term into the future, there may be an opportunity to discuss lighting, animation, beautification projects in both downtowns that could be supported through the MAT funds, coordinated through the new Municipal Service Corporation, working with both BIAs. So that's our hopeful future as we move forward. This is part of Council's future DMO strategy and the Economic Development and Tourism Strategy. We are currently laying the stepping stones for that future. It would be unfortunate for the green space to be unlit this season. Lighting the green space, along with the other lighting efforts in Fergus and Elora during our darker winter months, sends a message that Centre Wellington is open for business. Thank you. I can answer questions.
Thank you, Pat. Comments, questions? Councillor Adams.
Thank you, through you. I'm trying to decide whether I have a question or a comment. Sure. I think I actually just have a comment at this time. I will not be in support of using any existing capital funds, particularly our reserve fund, for this particular project. I think we just have too many critical issues in our community today to have funds pulled from that reserve. If there is a solution that doesn't pull, that's within our existing 2025 operating budgets, it doesn't pull other projects, 2025 projects within staff, I'd be more than happy to well, I think at that point staff could just kind of do that. And I think that the last comment I would just say is that I don't think we need as many lights to make it beautiful. So I'm hoping that within our operational budget there, we can find a solution, because I'm sure that the beauty of our downtowns will shine through despite these additional kind of light costs for both of our visitors and our residents.
Comment. Okay. Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to actually ask Adam McNabb just to respond to what is the General Capital Reserve Fund? Yes, it's capital, but where does it all come from, and why we ask that as the source for spending? Thanks.
Yep, thank you for the question, Pat, and through you, Mayor Waters. The General Capital Reserve is exactly that. It's a reserve fund for general capital, but it's also used to supplement where we have unforeseen overages in any certain areas, be it operating or otherwise. It's being touted as a capital item because it's over our $5,000 threshold and it's one time in nature, which is why we're leveraging the General Capital Reserve, should it be deemed necessary by council. And it's also the rationale why we do maintain a minimum of $1.25 million in that reserve for unforeseen circumstances such as this or others that come up.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification. I do understand the purpose of that reserve, and we have always also talked about there's other really important projects that come out of that reserve. So this is a piece of this, and this becomes a capital project when it becomes over that 5,000. If you use that volume of lights, I'm saying not use that volume of lights, work within existing operating capital, or sorry, not capital, operating budgets and staff resources. If not, I wouldn't be supporting a pull from that fund. Thank you.
So I'm just clear, if it's 5,000 or less, you could be swayed into, because I'm trying to be clear on that because that's sort of the indication that way.
Yes. So under 5,000. So there's a cost of there of like the 12,000. So if we get costs down under 5,000, becomes operating, and then there really actually needs to be no discussion at this point anymore, at the table at this point anymore. It can be done within existing operating costs and within staff resources.
Thank you for that. Okay. Councillor Epoy.
Thank you through you, sir. Thank you, Pat. I appreciate what you're doing. While our strat plan and goals do speak to enhancing the vibrancy and encouraging building vibrant downtowns, adding to our tourism and sales, I'm not sure that I can align with this proposal. In fact, respectfully, it feels a little tone deaf. I feel like given the seemingly inequitable situation around all of our communities in CW, including Fergus and Bellwood, I'm a little uncomfortable that there's so much money being talked about being put to one community, regardless of how we got here. In fact, I truly and genuinely appreciate the generosity of the donors that got us here, and we couldn't have done it without them. However, the reality is that we have to find a collaborative way moving forward to be as equitable as we can. And so if we were to use even a portion of our reserve, I would suggest that we should be considering to do the same thing for both Bellwood and Fergus. I'm really struggling with both the dollar amount and the fact that there's so much discussion for one of our communities over another. I do want to say I appreciate the granting and the staff that it took to get the grants for lighting up Fergus, but that's 2 buildings up that are uplit. They look beautiful, but it's nothing like what we're talking about doing in Elora. So am I on board with collaboratively working together to get at least some of Bissell Park lit up? Yeah, 100%. But I absolutely cannot get behind this suggestion.
Sorry, just for clarity, Bissell Park? Oh, thank you. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Councillor McDonald.
Through you, Mayor Waters, thank you for explaining. I always like to wait till the staff can actually explain further. I came into the chamber today. It was a hard no for me, just simply because the funding, we've already had a budget meeting. Having the delegation from the Elora BIA, clearly we've missed that step. They have the right to talk about this, I think, before it comes to council, and I would like to see that. The cost factor, what I was trying to say earlier is, yeah, not so many lights. I completely agree with Councillor Adams on that. I heard loud and clear, we just finished a massive reconstruction project on East Mill last year, and they would have liked some lights. And they have new trees, so I don't know the sustainability of that yet, but they would really like some lights down that way. And I think there's a lot more to this piece than what's just before us. But I would definitely like to wait for the BIA to weigh in before I can make an informed decision, for sure. Yes, we were told last year that the illumination project in Fergus got the grant and we had a sponsor. That was how it was pitched to me. And so we no longer have the sponsor. So we need to go back to the drawing board, and there has to be further conversations before I, again, can make an informed decision.
Thank you, Councillor McDonald. Councillor Grady.
Pat, if you don't mind, and through you, Sean, or Mayor Waters, what is the alternative if we don't go for this? How is the green space going to be lit as it was prior to 2024 with the uplightings on the trees? I think there was, and I'm having a hard time remembering what it looked like in the space, but I know you said it was dark, but.
Yeah. So at this point, there is no plan to light the green space. The lights that are in the green space are some uplighting that are there all year long, which is not as noticeable in the summer when it's light until 9 and 10 o'clock. But once you get into the winter season, it's not a very well lit corner. So there isn't any plans at this point. I'm hearing some direction, and I'm going to try and come back with something after I hear a little bit more and make sure I've got it understood. Does that fair answer your question?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay,
yeah,
great.
Thank you.
Councillor Jefferson.
Thank you, Mayor Waters. I'm wanting to hear what the Elora BIA thinks. I understand the tourism. I understand our strategic plan and everything, how we want to encourage tourism and that. But both of the downtowns struggle to do beautification and marketing with the limited budgets that they do have. I want to see like the membership have a say, because they are having their meeting on Tuesday. So we're kind of a little bit ahead. I understand the time constraints as well. But also coming from experience, I also know how much Fergus struggles and how much Fergus spends on lights. So if the BIA decides that they want to take it all on and the membership is in agreement, then that's kind of up to them to do, and we can partner with staff or partner to support however we may. I know we do have downtown budgets for Fergus and downtown budgets in our operating. I don't know if there's any room in there to offer staff hours or offer lifts or what we need to do, or maybe they just change it and just do the canopy. It would be up to them to do what they want to do in the downtown green space. I think we're kind of overstepping, and it's not in our purview to dictate what they're going to do down in the downtown, and kind of let the Elora BIA do what they want to do in agreement or a partnership with the township. And if there are extra lights left, I think that they should be distributed evenly as township property, because Fergus is really struggling. The other year, because they couldn't get insurance to put up the swag lights that they own. So it was very dark downtown. Plus there was a lot of lampposts that have been fixed that wouldn't light up the halo. So it wasn't very Christmassy in the downtown core there at all. So that's been improved over the past year. But I think we need to see what the BIA and the BIA membership wants to do first before we start figuring out how much we need to spend on things.
Thank you, Councillor Wilton.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Waters. Just a point of clarification first. Just curious if how many lights we own, maybe not numbers exactly, but were all of those going to be put up in the green space, or were there extra lights left over that could be offered to Fergus BIA? Or what's the communication been, I guess, with both BIAs around the lights and being available for projects this year? Thank you.
To date, there has been no conversation, because I had no direction from council what to do with the lights that were originally purchased for the lower green space. And so this is my direction I'm getting today. The plan that was proposed in the agreement last year was the same as what's in this plan now, except for the 2 trees that were removed, which are the ones along West Mill. However, last year, the donor added additional lights, which we were not aware of. They went up. And so when everything came down, we collected the lights that we originally agreed to, which they donated, and we did not collect the lights which were additionally put in And so when I say it's less light, it is less lights than were put in last year, as well as less lighting than was in the 2 trees. So if you look on the schedule, it shows exactly what lighting is being proposed. It's the 3 lights, trees adjacent to the West Mill. There's the big red and green tree and the evergreens that receive the white lights. So that's really what is proposed for this year. And then I will try and answer all the questions and maybe come back with another thought.
So just out of curiosity then, to treat both Fergus and Elora downtown similarly, why wouldn't you have a plan where you split up the lights and put half of them down by the river or along Main Street, St. Andrew, or behind Provost, or in the Provost Pavilion, because hopefully it will still be up for sip and shop. So I'm just like, you spoke very eloquently about the importance of tourism, which I'm not sure I completely agree, because there's a lot of other economic development that I think is super important to the township. But tourism is important. I get that. But Fergus is also a commercial hub and a downtown shopping center. So I'm just not clear on why the recommendation came back is just to do the green space in Elora and not to say, okay, now we have lights. We have 2 downtowns. Why can't we take X number of lights and kind of split them up between these trees and these? There's beautiful trees down by the river in Fergus that I think are quite challenging for the volunteers of the BIA to put the lights on. And so I'm just kind of curious why that wouldn't be the recommendation, and maybe it's not too late to kind of switch things up and go a different route. But thank you.
I'm going to answer a couple questions and then I'll get more direction. Okay, so you are all correct. A lot of money goes in from the township. We have on a line item, being fully transparent, almost $150,000 is directed towards beautification and maintenance of both downtowns and also Bellwood. So all of that is part of already your plan. The lighting of the green space is not any different than we also install all the lights on the river, the Riverlands and the pedestrian bridge. So that is done through township forces in Fergus. And then this was labor needed for lights that were purchased for the green space. So I don't know how you look at equity or this town and that town, but I think I'm agreeing with all of you that setting our towns up for success with seasonal lighting and all of that is very important. Councillor Jefferson mentioned the year that there was no the swag. It was noticed. And I just think that you will notice that the green space is not lit if it is not lit this season, but is absolutely council's decision. So I'm just leaving it with you guys to decide that. When you talk about why one town over the other, I think I just wanted to provide some numbers. So I did take a look at stats, and what we do measure is we can't obviously watch and count people as they walk down the sidewalk and visit our communities, or our locals that come in and enjoy our communities. But we do have counters at the entrance to the tourism center that counts how many people come in. And we also have a counter at the Fergus Wayscale washroom. It just gives us an indication of the number of visitors. So, I mean, Elora far exceeds downtown visits compared to Fergus from a tourism perspective. I can tell you that in washroom use, and I can tell you that in walk-ins. The 2024 data has the total number of Elora visits at 120,000, just over that, and the Fergus Wayscale at 16,000. Now, they're not comparable facilities. I understand that. I'm just trying to give you an idea. 2025, we're well on our way to surpass those numbers in Elora. But that's not to say we don't also support things that go on in the Fergus to support the Fergus downtown. We have a number of festivals and events that take place in Fergus that draw a number of locals and visitors. And if we were to take the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's 6 events that we totaled. They bring 87,000 people into Fergus. That didn't include another 10 events that we just didn't have the stats with for this year. So there's hundreds, thousands of people coming to Fergus, just like there are to Elora. Different kinds of support for events and event space and all of that kind of stuff that goes on in Fergus, which might not be the same as Elora, but it's certainly an attempt to support where everybody's coming and what they're doing in both of our communities, as well as in Bellwood. So I just wanted to share that. I know there's lots of hands going up, but I just wanted to possibly get this to a decision and direction. So the challenge with waiting until the end of October to have a decision from the BIA is that I'm not sure that's going to give us enough runway to start the installation in November, which is when the contract would start. We can wait, but that is a risk that I would have to come back and let council know. The other thing is if you wanted to give me a particular value that you're anticipating to receive from the BIA and any value that you would be willing to support from the general capital reserves or not, then I just need that direction from council. So I think those are sort of some of the answers to some of the points that were made so far. I don't know if anyone else has anything else to add.
Did you have something to comment to Pat's?
Yeah, I just think we should stay focused on the question at hand, because getting into comparing everything that goes on 12 months a year between the two towns is, I think, a slippery slope to getting into things. So this is one particular question that is being put to us, is whether we agree or disagree with the spending $12,000 in downtown Elora on the lights. So just want to stay focused.
Councillor Evoy.
Thank you through you, sir. Thank you again, Pat. Just because I disagree with this particular suggestion doesn't mean I don't 100% support and respect the work that you and your teams have put into this. I also want to say the same thing to McLean, who's not with us in the room, but I respect how much he and the BIA have put into this as well. Maybe the question at hand should actually be, should we be funding, because I heard what everybody's saying about who isn't getting support, financial support for putting up the lights. Maybe the discussion should be more around how much we add, maybe institute a holiday levy that allows a certain budget for each downtown to put those lights up that they've already accrued. We already made it clear that both communities have their own lights. Yes, we have extras. Maybe we could share them. I agree with that. But maybe the question should be going forward, how much or are we willing to support our BIA, which I would be very willing to do, insofar as giving them money to help them actually install the holiday lights.
Okay, Councillor Adams.
I agree there's lots that we can do, maybe looking in the future. I think for me, the focus is like more financial one, looking right now as like our next committee meeting, we're looking at the budget. And so pulling from the general capital reserve, I'm just uncomfortable with. If we can get the volume of lights down, or we can get it where we can under 5,000, where it becomes operational. If there's existing capacity in the 2025 operational budget somewhere, would it even be required to come back to council, even if there was discussions with the BIA to enhance whatever that operational budget that may be there for the lights? But like in terms of the motion before us, which is focused on the general capital reserve, that's where I'm uncomfortable with.
Councillor McDonald.
To you, Mayor Waters, I'd like to defer this motion. I think that there's clearly the BIA has to weigh in. Councillor Jefferson has a meeting coming up, and I'm uncomfortable with this discussion in the fact that let them have their discussion. And if it has to come back to council, well, then you bring it back to council. I really have a hard time with rushing. And this seems very rushed. And people haven't had an opportunity to talk, especially the membership from the BA, as we've discussed. Councillor Adams has a very good point that if it is under $5,000, we won't even be having this discussion. This falls under the office of the CAO and has nothing to do with council. So I would like to defer this.
Any other comments or questions? Councillor Welton.
Just in response to that suggestion and respectfully, I think we should just make the decision today. Like, I'm not comfortable. I agree with Councillor Adams of pulling money from the general reserve for this project. So I'm comfortable making the decision that's been put towards us today. And I'm sure subsequent conversations can happen with the BIA and hopefully the BIA and Fergus as well around what can be done within existing operational budgets with staff time and the lights that we own. If we own the lights, there must be a cheaper way to put a few up in Fergus and a few up in Elora. And I think we can move onwards and move on from there. So that'd be my comment. Thank you.
Did you have something?
I just want to add something. So if the direction from council is that if the BIA is going to fund this, that at least we have permission to light the park. That is what I would need also, because I don't have an agreement from council to put these township lights up in Elora. So if we can get the funding, if the BIA is willing to fund it, I just want to make sure that there was sort of two pieces to this question, is to light the green space and then fund that lighting. So I just would, if we could add that as another piece, if council feels that's necessary.
Go ahead.
Sorry, just a little confused because you wouldn't need, it's township property.
Correct.
So maybe it's questions for CIO Wilson. Just what's the permission needed if you're going to put lights on a tree in a township park? I'm not quite clear on that. But if you need permission, then that's fine. Just
I can clarify. You can add. Go ahead.
Through Mayor Waters, if my opinion is if the BIA is fully funding this, then staff operationally can make the decision to light the green space. It's just whether or not there's a partial contribution from the township would need. If it's under 5,000 and within our operational control, and we can stick within budget, then staff can award it. But if we're operationally not able to put in those funding, then it would be a council decision.
Thanks for that clarity.
Yep, go ahead.
Thank you. Through you to Dan. Thanks, Dan, for qualifying, and thanks again to Pat for qualifying. Just curious again, I'm not sure exactly if this is the right question, but if we're going to agree that we will, in air quotes, permit, again, it doesn't come through us. I understand that from an operational lens of that 5,000, could we again agree to reach out to Fergus and see if they are in need? I just think that they are struggling, and we know that. And I feel a little awkward with giving 5,000 to one and not to the other. Yes, I know it's not a one or other thing. I really do. And we try and think of this as one community whenever and however we can. But there are very clearly two downtowns that need to be lit up. So I'm just wondering how we address that.
Through Mayor Waters, I guess the short answer is if council wants us to discuss lighting in Fergus with the Fergus BIA, if you give us that direction, we'll do so. The longer answer is, and Pat got into this a little bit, the things we do in Fergus are different from the things we do in Elora. And while lighting may not equate, there may be things we do in Fergus that far exceed what we do in Elora. And we're currently working on a level of service review of both downtowns, and we'll bring that forward to council as part of budget. But just I want council to be aware that we support one downtown more in certain areas and the other downtown in other areas.
Thank you. Well, I completely respect and understand that. I think holiday lights is not as questionable as, events versus other things. I just think holiday lights may stand on its own. But thank you, Dan.
Any other questions, comments? I gotta say, I guess my 2 cents, 15 cents maybe. Sometimes I'm on this council for maybe some continuity in terms of the history of the green space. The green space, as some of you may have known, was a gas station. And it did serve its purpose for a very long time in this community and provided a great service for our community for a long time. When the gas station closed, there was fencing around that property. It looked a little bit like what's on St. David Street in Fergus. It looked like it was going to be deemed there for a long time, which would not have been a great thing for the community. A landscape architect firm on the street saw that and did a drawing and said, hey, we'll provide you some project management. Here's a drawing sort of given out. The BIA, and it was a really community effort. BIA, the township, everyone came together to build that green space. And I got to thank Trevor Ashby. Remember Trevor? He was a great man. And Ken Elder back in the day, and the community and all the people, the BIA, they invested, I think it was over $50,000 of their own money into that redevelopment of that green space. And there was also a lot of community people came together. It was a great time that way. There was no differences of opinion. It was sort of like this was an important space for the community, and we need to do something because it's the heart of the community. The give back that way, it's a space for everybody. It's a community space. It's not for the tourism. It's for everybody. That everyone uses that space. And part of the beauty of that space, if you ever go in and sit on those red chairs, you're not looking at the road, you're looking at the space in there. And that is a circle, and it meant the circle of the community. And that is a great space. The BIA, and I'm on the side in terms of we should maybe defer this decision, because they spent a lot of time and effort and financial means to be able to help create that space. And I think that would not be kind of us to say, forget it, and we can't wait for your meeting. And even at the risk of, we might not even make the opportunity to get these things in. I think we owe something to the BIA, who contributed a lot of money there, to let them make their decision, whether it be this or that. And even if it means missing the opportunity to deal with the contractor, so what? It's again sort of the idea of coming together as a community, discuss that space, and make a decision on that as a collective, as a group together. It's not a question, hey, in a perfect world, this it would have been great if this was brought up a lot earlier. But sometimes, as we know, council and politics is all very dynamic. Things change. And just as we did have a lovely thing today with our friends from the Green Party, things happen on a dime sometimes. I see this the same thing. And instead of being critical of something, I think what we should be doing is we just take pregnant pause, sorry for the pregnant pause, or I'm not sure what the equivalent of that would be, but take a pause here and ask for a deferral, let the BIA do their thing, and then come back. And if there's time, time to do something, great. If there's not time, it's fine. But we're all working on this together. So that would be my suggestion. Anyways, Councillor Adams.
Thank you, and thanks for sharing with that. And I completely agree. Whether we need a deferral or what I was potentially going to propose was an amendment where we strike out the funding of the $11,800 from the General Capital Reserve and insert approved staff to use existing 2025 operational budgets and resources, and then continue it, because then maybe it doesn't get held up by us again. Does it still allow those conversations to go to the BI and those partnerships and collaboration still happen without potentially having to come back to us? So I'm fine either way, but that was going to be my suggestion.
Councillor Wilton.
I would be supportive of Councillor Adams' suggestion for the amendment. So thank you.
Councillor MacDonald.
Mayor Waters, I would second that amendment.
Even though, say it again.
Sorry.
Okay, so I guess I will move. Yeah. So I'll move the amendment to strike out the funding of $11,835 from the General Capital Reserve and insert staff to use existing 2025 operational budgets and resources. Sorry.
Councillor Jefferson.
Thank you, Mayor Waters. I'm just wondering with the amendment if we're wanting to have something about directing staff to talk to the BIAs, because that's not in this at all.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to make a suggestion here.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Start again. Sorry.
Okay. It would be my suggestion that we move or that we deal with the amendments as they're put forward rather than throwing everything into this in the event that not everyone is supportive of that. So if we take the first amendment and then consider the second amendment, and then we'll read it all together, would be my suggestion.
Okay. Councillor Evoy.
Thank you. Sorry, through you, sir. Then I'd like to, when Councillor Adams is done, I'd like to make the amendment with regards to, or my colleague, Councillor Jefferson can, want to make sure that we have that amendment made about speaking to both BIAs.
Okay, let's start this train. Okay, let's maybe read your amendment again.
Sure. Moved myself, seconded by whoever was seconded it by, that I moved an amendment to strike out, I don't know what's better way to say it, but I'll say strike out the funding of $11,835 from the General Capital Reserve and insert staff to use existing 2025 operational budgets and resources.
Okay.
Want you read that again?
No, I just need the seconder. Do we have
the seconder was, I think it was Councillor Wilton.
Okay, it's pretty basic here, but I think it does the trick. This one, that's the amendment.
The amendment that the words, the funding of $11,835 approved from the General Capital Reserve be replaced with approved staff to use existing 2025 operation budget and resources. Okay, so that's the first one. Okay, are we gonna? Are everyone cool with that one? Okay, yeah, we're going to vote on this and then we're going to sort of take the train down the highway here. Okay.
Just questions?
Yep, go ahead.
Can we have like a bit of an insight if there's room in the operational budget for something like that? No? Before? Well, I know it's $5,000, but like we talked earlier about taking away from one project to fund another and how we don't want to be doing that. So we've already got an operational budget in place that's geared towards what specific tasks. So what are we going to pull from to do this?
Yeah, through the mayor. Great question. In terms of downtown beautification, we are effectively at capacity for the year at the end of August in terms of budget. So unless there was another operating category that had capacity and we'd had council direction or authorization to utilize that elsewhere within the budget, understanding that it was no longer available under the auspices of this being approved, we could probably leverage that still being within the confines of the tax levy.
So knowing that, are you still comfortable?
Yes, I'm comfortable. I didn't specifically state which operational budget here, so I think I'm still comfortable with my amendment.
Did no, did not. Yeah.
So that question goes back to you, Adam. Where do we find those types of resources?
Again, it would be largely dependent upon where we feel that the cost pressures are. If we're understanding that it's seasonal in nature and we have other seasonal operating areas of capacity where capacity exists and we understand that they won't be utilized within the confines of the calendar year, then we could potentially use those. We do bring quarterly reports to council in terms of where we reside, in terms of our existing operating budgets in comparison to what we've budgeted in terms of actual to date. And we do know that we are seeing some fairly significant pressures across the board this year. So in terms of what we're looking at in terms of a forecasted end of year, it's too early to tell. We don't know what the seasonality for the remainder of the year is going to look like, but I would just caution council that where we're earmarking things, understanding that we're over budget in one area, we must be certain that we're going to be under budget elsewhere. Otherwise, we'll be putting pressure on the remaining operating budget we have for the remainder of the year.
I'm good either way, to keep it or just to call the vote on the original question. So you can look to my Mayor, you can look to my colleagues.
My one comment on that, and I appreciate the additional clarification, thanks Adam, would just be if there is no money, then it doesn't happen this year. There's lots of things I'd like to do for my house too. If there's no money at the end of the budget year, you just wait till next year. So I'm comfortable with the amendment as written because it's pretty general and not specific, like to find even $2,000 to $3,000 to help put up some lights in both downtowns. I feel like there's probably wiggle room, but if there isn't, it doesn't happen this year. And hopefully the BIAs have some money in their budget, and they still do a lot anyway. There's lots of lighting in Elora, even along East Mill. Was the new lighting for the street is quite bright and cheerful, and Fergus has quite a bit going on in there. But yeah, if we're gonna keep going, we need to work within our budgets.
Okay, so we have a first and seconder on that. So any other comments or questions?
Thank you, through you. I actually want to address that, and I appreciate that you're willing to reevaluate just a little bit. It's important that our our neighbors understand that we are committed to not making this a tax issue. So people who are concerned about that, we will not allow this to affect their taxes. And I believe with my whole heart and soul that our BIAs can work together to find a way, if we don't have the dollars, to find a way to continue to make, and I say continue because they've done a great job to date, continue to light up our downtowns.
Okay. So we have a mover and a seconder on that. Any other comments, questions as it relate to that? Okay. I'm going to put it up for a vote. All those in favor? Oh, sorry. Oh, we're going to do, yeah. Okay. Okay. All those in favor? That's so moved. Okay. Now we're in the second part of this.
Thank you. I guess so then amendment to the amendment is just to direct staff to discuss with the BIA's Christmas lighting and then to facilitate any work coming out of that, I guess. Because we can't be talking about people if they're not in the room.
Okay, sorry, can you just say that again? To direct
staff to discuss Christmas lighting with both BIAs. Seasonal lighting, holiday
or seasonal. Yeah.
Thank you. That council directs staff to discuss seasonal lighting with both BIAs. Do have a move? I'm assuming you're moving that. And seconder, I'll lead Councillor McDonald. Any further comments or questions from council? All those in favor? So moved. Is there anything else?
Now you've got the main motion to do, and just give me a second to get it all together for you.
Could you use the 5-minute break? And then we'll come back and, let's do a 5-minute break and then we'll have this when you guys are back. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Okay, I'm going to read the motion. Do I?
Right here.
Okay, that the Council of Township of Centre Wellington approves staff to use the existing 2025 operational budget and resources to illuminate the Elora green space for the 2025-26 winter season, and then Council delegate authority to the Managing Director of Community Services to adjust the project and lighting schedules as necessary, and that Council directs staff to discuss seasonal lighting with both BIAs. We all good there? Okay, do I have a mover for that? Oh, did it? Yes. Did we?
Did we
okay.
already have for the full?
For the full one? No, this is for the full one. Did we have for the?
That was just for the.
Those are for all the discussions. No, this is now for the full one. Okay. Councillor Wilton, Councillor McDonald. Okay. Any further comments or discussions? All those in favor? So move. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you. Okay. Now we'll move down to bylaws. Item 12.1, bylaw 2025-61, a bylaw to amend section 15.1 of the bylaw 2025-47, AMPS by bylaw parking to state that AMPS bylaw parking shall come into force and take effect on January 1st, 2026. Recommendation that the bylaw 2025-61 be read a first, second, and third time and passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, and corporate seal affixed. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Craddock, seconder on that. Councillor Evoy. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? So moved. Notice of motions, none. Motions where notice have been given. Confirmatory bylaw. A bylaw to confirm the actions of council. Recommendation that bylaw 2025-62 to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held October 14, 2025, be introduced the first, second, and third time and pass in open council. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Craddock, seconder on that. Councillor Adams. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, so moved. Do have a mover for adjournment? Councillor Wilton, seconder on that. Councillor McDonald. All those in favor? So moved. Thank you. Everyone have a great night.